All right, we have a story for you today that honestly feels less like a clinical study and more like a modern day fairy tale. It's all about commitment, a deep sense of purpose, and a promise that was made a quarter of a century ago. And yep, just like any great fairy tale, it starts with those classic words. But this isn't just for show, it perfectly sets the stage for a journey that is, and I mean this, truly remarkable. So picture this. It's the year 2000. A really ambitious, almost idealistic quest is laid out for a group of young doctors. These are people just starting their careers, full of dreams and totally ready to change the world. And the group they put together was, wow. We're talking about 100 bright, newly graduated doctors in internal medicine brought together from all over the planet. Just imagine the energy in that room, all of them right at the starting line of their lives. But this was not your typical research project. The goal was huge. They were asked to build something called a psychosocial model, which is basically a framework for understanding the true meaning of life. It was designed to help people cut through all the noise of the modern world and focus on what actually matters. And for committing to this massive 25-year-long project, what was the big prize? This, just 500 euros. Promised to each person who made it to the very end. I mean, today that doesn't sound like much for a quarter century of work, does it?
But here's the key. You have to remember, back then, to these young doctors fresh out of school with tons of debt, 500 euros felt like a fortune. It might as well have been 1 million. It was more than just cash. It was a really powerful motivator.
So the project kicks off with all this excitement. But 25 years? That is a long, long time. And as the years started to tick by, that initial enthusiasm was about to face the ultimate test. And the results of that test? Well, they're pretty stark. Just look at that drop. They started with 100 passionate doctors, and by 2025, only one person was left. The journey had filtered out 99% of the original group.
So what happened to everybody else? Well, life happened. It wasn't some big dramatic exit. It was just the slow, steady pull of everyday living. People started families, they got promotions, they became heads of departments, their careers took them in new directions, and that project, which was once so important, just slowly faded into the background.
And this brings us to the real heart of the story. With 99 people gone, our focus now zooms in on that one individual. The single doctor who, against all odds, actually saw this thing through to the very end. And here he is, Dr. Rommel Jadaan. He's the one who kept the promise, who kept doing the work for 25 straight years. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. This wasn't a team effort at the end. For years, Dr. Jadaan was working on this completely by himself, perfecting the model, holding onto a promise that pretty much everyone else had forgotten. That level of dedication is just mind-blowing. And all that lonely work? It paid off. Big time. The model he finished wasn't just some academic paper. It became a powerful, practical tool that's now used all over the place. In medicine, psychology, leadership coaching, even in high-stakes fields like aviation safety. He created something that has a real impact on the world. So, fast forward to 2025. The project is done, it's a huge success, but there's still one loose end, isn't there? That original promise of a financial reward. Exactly. What happened with the 500 euros he was promised all those years ago? After all that work, did he just get a small check in the mail? Well, this is where the story takes a twist. Turns out, there was a rule that almost everyone probably forgot about. Every time someone dropped out of the project, their 500 euro prize didn't just vanish. Nope. It got added to a central pot to be split by whoever actually finished. And because Dr. Jadaan was the only one left to cross the finish line, he got the entire pot. Instead of 500 euros, he received a check for 50,000 euros. That's 100 times the original promise. Now, getting 50,000 euros is a pretty fantastic end to a long journey. But what Dr. Jadaan did next, that's what makes this story so extraordinary. This final chapter is what reveals the true purpose of it all. So, after he paid his taxes, he took the rest of that money, about 45,000 euros, and he didn't keep it. Instead, he did something incredible.
He used it to create university scholarships to help immigrants get an education. The only amount he kept for himself was the original 500 euros, the same amount that felt like $1,000,000 to him when he was a young man. He kept it not for the money, but for what it represented, the promise, the journey, the symbol of his commitment. And with that one act, he brought the whole project full circle. Remember, the whole point of the research was to reflect on the true meaning of life. Well, his final decision was the ultimate expression of that idea. He didn't just study the principles, he lived them.
Which really leaves us with one final thought. What was the true success here? Was it finishing the model? Was it the unexpected 50 grand? Or was it the act of giving that wealth away to create opportunities for others? It makes you wonder what your own 25-year journey might look like, and what really matters at the end of the road.